In Yakuza 0, we are introduced to a cool, calm, and collected Goro Majima. Then, the next time we see him in Yakuza 1, he's beating the crap out of his own men. Even with the events in Yakuza 0, such a drastic personality change seems sudden and out of the blue. So it begs the question, what exactly caused Majima to change into the Mad Dog? Well, according to Scott Strichart, who localized several of the Yakuza games, including Yakuza 0, Majima's transformation is a conscious choice. He goes on to say that, at the end of Yakuza 0, contrary to popular belief that he goes insane, the bombshell reveal is that Majima tells you he's literally gonna flip a switch, live crazier than anyone by adopting a new persona. You literally see this switch get flipped in the post-credit scenes with Kiryu. Although this is a fair assessment of Majima's transformation, I actually think it goes a lot deeper at the psychological level. So today I'll be using various real-life psychological concepts and case studies to deep dive into the mind of Goro Majima. To fully understand Majima's transformation into the Mad Dog, it is important to understand some of the contributing factors in Majima's background. The earliest depiction of Majima's life comes from a flashback scene in Yakuza 4. During this flashback, we are shown how Majima acted prior to significant traumas. In these flashbacks, Majima's personality is a lot closer to the calm and collected personality that we see in Yakuza 0. Fast forward to the 1985 hit. Majima is prevented from going to the hit, which leads to Saejima carrying the hit out himself and receiving a life sentence. As Scott suggests, this is the first step to Majima's transformation and the first pillar of his trauma. He now lives for the sole purpose of getting back into the family and letting Saejima exact revenge. We even see this in Yakuza 4 when Saejima breaks out of prison and finds Majima. Majima insists that he let Saejima down, and no matter what his reason was for not showing up to that hit, he should be punished by death. As punishment for disobeying the family and trying to help Saejima anyways, Majima is captured and tortured for a year, and in that period he loses one of his eyes. He is then sent to Sagawa and forced to run the Cabaret Grand in order to make money for the family. Eventually, Majima is told that all his debts would be forgiven if he carries out a hit on a girl named Makoto. Majima reluctantly agrees to these terms. This is when Majima encounters Makoto, who would be the second pillar of his transformation. Throughout the course of Yakuza 0, Majima and Makoto develop a very intimate bond, and Majima grows to care about her very deeply. However, at the end of the game, he decides it's best to let her go so that she could live a normal life, one that would not be possible with him. He leaves her in the hands of Tateyama, but never receives closure on her fate until many years later. Closure refers to an individual's desire for a clear and firm answer, and represents an aversion to uncertainty. According to good therapy, although closure does not automatically resolve a trauma, it can serve as a launching point so that someone can better deal with their traumas. However, in some cases, closure can be a profoundly transformative experience that allows an individual to move past a traumatic event. For example, a victim of abuse may need to confront the abuser and see them in prison before he or she can feel safe again. This idea of Majima not receiving closure in regards to Makoto is supported in Yakuza 5. In Yakuza 5, we find out that Majima got married to a woman named Mirai Park a few years later after the events of Yakuza 0. Interestingly enough, Mirai appears to be a half-Japanese woman with short hair that is styled very similarly to Makoto's. Here's a comparison of both these women in their youth. Now, I'm aware that Yakuza 5 came out before Yakuza 0, but the fact that Makoto was designed in a way that is strikingly similar to Mirai makes me think that it was an intentional choice on the part of the writers, and reinforces the idea that Majima is still haunted by his unresolved feelings for Makoto. Anyways, let's circle back to the events of Yakuza 0 for a moment. Throughout the events of this game, Majima meets three people who Scott describes as the pillars of his transformation. These three people are Lee, who would do anything to protect the ones he loves, Nishitani, for living how he wants, and Sagawa for his tenacity. As we see in the game, Majima even calls these guys some of the finest bastards that he's ever met, and at the end of the game, he vows to live crazier than any of them. But even with this declaration, it's hard to believe that such a calm and cool-headed person could become as crazy as the Mad Dog overnight. I mean, seriously, let's take a quick look at his rap sheet. He beats the crap out of his own men, he kidnapped Haruka just to get an opportunity to fight Kiryu, and he drove a truck through a building. Not to mention in Yakuza Kiwami, he developed some serious stalker tendencies. So what could be going on here at the psychological level that might inspire such a drastic and sudden change in personality? Well, the answer is that the Mad Dog is actually a severe form of dissociation. You see, at its core, Majima is actually a really good person. We see this clearly in Yakuza 0, where Majima appears to be the moral compass to the supporting cast of the game. He is always trying to take the high road, such as when he refused Lee's idea to kill a serial adulterer who looked like Makoto. In Majima's eyes, even though she was a bad person, she didn't deserve to die. Furthermore, Furthermore, he also tried to convince Makoto not to seek revenge and refused to kill the Dojima family lieutenants. However, every time he tried to be a good person, he got burned for it. The serial adulterer was killed anyway by the Kijin clan, which eventually led to Lee's death when Sagawa found out the truth. His refusal to kill the Dojima family lieutenants led to Makoto getting shot and almost killed. He is also the type of person who cares and feels very deeply, and we can see this from how he interacts with the people he loves. He is willing to let Saejima kill him because he feels like he betrayed Saejima. He lets Makoto go because he believed it would be best for her. He divorces Mirai because he believed that their marriage was holding her back from her dreams. He was also willing to seriously fight his sworn brother Saejima in Yakuza 5 in order to save Haruka from a sniper. As Majima said to Saejima, he thought his own life meant nothing when compared with how much Haruka means to Kiryu. Now, with this image of a deeply caring but deeply scarred Majima in mind, add on the fact that he also lost his unborn child. In Yakuza 5, we find out that while Majima was married to Mirai, she got pregnant and ended up aborting the baby without telling him. Unsurprisingly, research has found that men also experience severe negative mental effects after an abortion. Some men have even reported suffering from PTSD following an abortion. So, as we can see from all these experiences, there is a lot of pain that Majima would want to dissociate himself from. Dissociation is when a person loses track of time and or person and instead finds another representation of themselves in order to continue in the moment. In this manner, a person who dissociates can disconnect from the real world for a time and live in a different world that is not cluttered with thoughts, feelings, or memories that are unbearable. The persona of the Mad Dog is thus a byproduct of Majima's dissociation. It serves as a defensive wall to keep out the pain of his unresolved trauma. According to Randall Gunther, emotional walls are common reactions to trauma and work by disconnecting a person from a traumatic event or events. It is a private and hidden haven in which he or she can somehow control anguish from which they cannot escape. Furthermore, Randall goes on to state how defensive walls can cause personality changes and people can become versions of themselves that are almost unrecognizable. So, with all this information in mind, let's answer one of the main questions in today's video. Is the Mad Dog all an act? Well, yes and no. You see, I believe that the act of the Mad Dog is a subconscious defense that not even Majima himself realizes is unreal. An interesting parallel that we can draw here is that Majima's situation actually shares a lot in common with actors and method acting. For those unaware, method acting is a range of training and rehearsal techniques that seeks to encourage sincere and expressive performances through identifying with, understanding, and experiencing a character's inner motivations and emotions. It is used by actors to evoke realistic portrayals of their characters in their performances. However, when these emotions are not properly compartmentalized, then the performance can blur the line between role and reality and affect the actor's psyche. For example, in an interview on the Fresh Air podcast, actress Brie Larson described her experience in preparing for her role in The Room. She stated that at times it was hard to remember what was a role and what wasn't. Furthermore, Thompson and Jack found in the study that method actors who experienced loss and trauma were more likely to have those traumas unresolved than the control group of non-actors. In addition, these actors had greater lapses in reason and loss of personal narrative when answering the researchers' questions. Gregory Hippolyte Brown suggests that this blurring of boundaries for some actors might result from a strong desire to escape from current reality into counterfactual selves, which might influence a change in the actor's native personality. So, how does all of this relate with Majima? Well, in my opinion, Majima's transformation went something like this. As Scott suggested, Majima made the conscious choice to live a life crazier than all those people who inspired him. As a result, Majima put on the act of the Mad Dog, but this persona is an overcorrection that presents an opportunity for Majima to dissociate from his pain. As Brown suggested, a counterfactual self offers Majima an opportunity to escape reality. The line between his role and reality becomes blurred, and he truly adopts the persona of the Mad Dog as his own. With this in mind, let's address another question that commonly gets asked about Majima. Many people have asked why Majima appears to mellow out and calm down in Yakuza 3 and especially in Yakuza 4 and 5. Well, the answer is perfectly in line with my assessment of Majima so far. You see, in the world of acting, there is such a thing called drama therapy. One of the main focuses of a drama therapist is to help actors de-roll. De-rolling is a distancing method that involves the use of various techniques to help actors safely transition back to their original selves and out of character. These techniques can take many forms, and what works varies from person to person. Some of these techniques can involve physical activities, such as shaking the body to shake a character out of the system. They can also be symbolic activities, such as showering to literally wash the character off. Others have found that having things around that help ground them back to their original selves, such as keeping photos of family or friends around as a reality tether, are helpful in de-rolling. According to Savannah Laskin, de-rolling from a character can provide therapeutic effects and offers time and space to explore underlying traumas. The goal of a drama therapist here is to help the actor explore these denied feelings and experiences in order to help move past them. Although Majima doesn't have a therapist to help him de-roll, he does undergo some experiences that help ground him back to his original self and de-roll. In Yakuza Kiwami 2, Majima finally gets closure with one of the main sources of his dissociation, Makoto. After 18 years, Majima is finally reunited with Makoto, where he learns that she is living a healthy and happy life. As Majima said himself, this encounter helped him untie some knots that he has been carrying around for 18 years. Additionally, in Yakuza 4, Majima finally meets Saejima again after 25 years, and after learning why Majima didn't show up to the 1985 hit, Saejima forgives him. These two encounters offer Majima closure on the events that had been haunting him for most of his life. After obtaining this closure, Majima is able to move on from his past traumas and reconnect with his original self. This is why the Majima we see in Yakuza 4 onwards seems to be a lot more mellowed out when compared with the past Majima. Majima no longer has a need to dissociate and overcorrect as the Mad Dog. Now, don't get me wrong, Majima is still definitely an oddball, but that oddity is now a result of him choosing to live his life freely without the shackles of his past traumas tying him down. Class, as always, thanks for checking out Vgology, where we explore the psychology of our favorite video games. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to party like it's Friday night and light up that like and subscribe button. There's the bell. Class dismissed.